I don't know. Looks like we're on.
It's promising, if nothing else. It feels like we should be on. So that's
Sports Handsome Hour, and it's the significance of this. This is old school. This is just you and me. When was the last time it was just you and me? Long time.
I think you're right. I think it's been over 2 years.
It's just like having children.
Because Anish and I have been on together, and you and Anish have been on, but I don't think you and I have been on.
That's right.
I think it's true.
Yeah, and I think, it's like being parents and then having kids. Once Anish and Michael came along, it was still great. Just was
exactly.
Our relationship changed.
That's amazing that you bring that up after the conversation we had off the air. That's perfect.
Hey, look,
kids ruin everything.
They do, and it looks. I'm checking. Man, it looks like I have successfully.
I think you've done it. I think it really worked.
This is amazing work.
You're
Welcome to the World Sports Handsome Hour. Yeah, I didn't see any problems. This seemed pretty easy to me. I don't know what Anish is always complaining about.
Exactly. What's he complaining about?
He's one of those guys. He's one of those coworkers where he makes it like it's really hard. He's like, oh, man, this job is really tough. Man, I need some time to prep and get this all working. And then you take it over and you're like, this
is the easiest thing ever. Yeah. Hey, we're gonna make it a tidy 45 to 50 minutes. It's a bye week, so
yeah. We rarely go longer than that, right?
No, we never do. So it's good to be here with you, Jay. And like we said, this is a throwback handsome hour.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's a good deal. It's always good to celebrate a big 35-point loss with one of my best pals here, and yeah, exactly. Let's get wild.
Beasley says no Anish to keep it reasonable. Let's get wild tonight. I like to think Anish keeps it reasonable. I guess that's probably true, but
reasonable. I think the funny thing is, I think his perspective on recent events, I don't think is reasonable at all. But we can agree to. Oh, look at that!
I can do that. That's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
That could go off the tracks real quick. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll have. We've had terrorists come in here and just start taking over, and we don't want that. We don't want to derail the whole thing.
That's right.
So we got some great people on here though already.
We switched roles around this week, and you left the area, and Anish and I and Michael attended the game.
That's right.
We like divisional labor. We like to make sure that Boiler Dad doesn't have to suffer through all of it by himself. By the way, big shouts before we get going too far to a friend of yours. I don't know if we should mention specifically, but who helped us out with a great tailgating spot.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Great guy, good guy, really convenient, really good. Our friend Mike from PU Falls City, president of the Louisville Purdue Alumni Club.
I think it's great that he was so generous to you guys with me out of town. Thanks, Mike.
It says something, doesn't it?
You guys texted me pictures, which is cool. And then Mike texted me pictures directly, which is really cool. And he said, you missed a good time. Yeah, thanks. I didn't really want to miss this good time, Mike. I'll be real honest.
Yeah,
so my wealthy Boiled Sports compatriots got to watch from the highbrow area. Let's just say that. So did Jay Monies Jr. get to go along, or did they not come along with you?
To where? What do you think? I left them in the seats?
I didn't know.
I don't know. They did. They came upstairs. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Only living the first class life for my kids. Yeah. So big shout out to Mike. Again, he got us up into a suite that Dave Shondell had the other half of. So we were in the suite with
pictures
Shondell.
I mean, that's the thing. I can verify that I saw pictures from two sources with Shondell.
We were right next. Well, as soon as you walk upstairs, it's just so funny because there is an element when you get up to the rich seats. There's an element of Purdue royalty, right? Like we came off the elevator, and there's Tyler Trent's parents.
Everything's smelling of lavender, right? Right. True.
There's Gene Katie. There's Shondell. We see Babinski was in the next suite from us. So where the glass divides, the seating areas, like we could just look and see Babinski standing there looking grim.
Exactly.
He didn't look totally thrilled with what he was doing.
I would think.
One thing I will say, I will criticize Purdue a bit. Not that we would ever do that, but it was the Hammer Down Cancer game. And from what I gleaned, and I saw someone else say this on Twitter, it wasn't just me. They didn't mention Tyler once or show anything about him. We've got an entrance dedicated to the guy. Like
they put on the big board?
I don't think so. If somebody saw it, correct me. But
yeah, tell us in the margin. Tell us in the comments.
See anything about him, and that seems like a good day to talk about him. Remember him? I don't.
Seems like a great day. It's a funny thing. I sent that picture out on that thread with I think it was Tyler's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Showed the picture of us when we were all together at the Missouri game.
Yes,
and that was a great day, and it's almost a replay. Like the funny thing is, like the same crew, all of us don't get together very often.
No.
Like it doesn't happen that we're all at the game.
Michael's together. Like a ghost. It's hard to get him to. Did
he celebrate this time the same way he celebrated last time he was in town on the patio?
He was more controlled this time.
Oh, good. That's good. And only an elite few know the reason.
That's right.
The rest
By
of
the way, Greg Manis, loyal friend of the program, loyal viewer of this show, and loyal viewer. He
wasn't in town, right? He decide to turn away from this one because of the last.
Well,
time
much like many of us, but he says rumor that there will be a Hansmeyer tonight were actually true. We'll get into that. We'll talk about what that means.
Greg give it with a heady joke right away. I love it. It's awesome.
So I don't know how much time we want to spend on that game. This is not a analytical podcast. We don't break down the X's and O's, but
it's not our way,
man. But neither does Purdue, it appears. So it seems as though Purdue used up all their offensive plays in one half against Illinois. That's really what I've kind of deduced. Is they had a bunch of and they were like, "Look, let's just empty it now. Let's do it."
Let's think about this for a second, okay? This is something I didn't mention this in my post game, probably because
I loved your post game. By the way, going live before the game was over, I watched you on delay, so I see that you're doing it and there's time left, and you're like, "Oh, chance for Purdue to get on the board," and Ryan Brown throws it on the sideline and it's intercepted. Of course, I knew that was going to happen, so I'm like, I can't wait to see this.
Right? Yeah, I'm looking over. I'm like,
you're like, maybe they'll score.
Gosh, I was disgruntled, man. I was mad. I was just like
It kept you to under 30 minutes on the post game.
It did. Isn't that amazing? There aren't many things that'll make the post game or quick cast short, but there you go. Angry B Dad will do that. Hello. Sorry, my daughter just walked in. What I told you, Jay. So if you had a whole bunch of momentum, debatably the most momentum you've got on the season, right? And you did it on the legs and arms of the offense that was doing some exciting things, right? Really aggressive, really opportunistic. How would you handle play calling at that point if you were the OC? Jay, would you go maybe not ever pass the ball? Is that how you'd start that next game?
I think
they didn't pass the ball. What? They didn't pass the ball. I think did he have a total of what was the damn stat? Sorry, I'm so mad right near.
In the first half, like 4 of 6 or 6 of 8 or something.
Something nine times. Was that it? I think it was 9. I think there was a 9er in there. I couldn't believe that. I was like, you come in, and I think everybody in that stadium, let me just say something. I don't say this type of sentiment often. I was starting to get with this in the post game. Purdue fans deserve much better than we saw. That's an incredible effort by a fan base. I've talked to IU friends of mine. They're like, IU's really good. I've got a neighbor. He's an IU alum. His kids are IU alums. He says, we don't stay at games till the end ever. We're bad. I'm like, you guys are awful fans. All kidding aside, IU's football team deserves better fans. Purdue's fans deserve a better football team right now.
Well,
this is absurd. The fans freaking came to have a sellout and to have a raucous sellout.
I will vouch
you guys sounded great on TV.
I will tell you, it was a good vibe coming in there. It felt for where Purdue was at. It'll go back to something we have talked about many times, and I've said this myself many times. Purdue fans just want fun. They want a chance of it being good. Because they've seen it before. So if let's say you'd pulled off the win at Illinois and you're 2-4. That place would have been even more excited and hopped up because you would have been like, 2-4. We've been in this position before and knocked off really good teams, and all they want to see is something fun. So, like you said, I just looked it up. Ryan Brown was 9 of 19 for 93 yards.
Yeah, Matt he said you beat him just barely to the.
So
9 of 19, 93 yards, interception.
What
in the end zone?
Is that Walters out thinking himself, saying, "Oh, I saw something. I think that they're going to be susceptible to the run game." I don't we're not going to be able to
so Golden Black, and I listened to them, their post game thoughts, and I wanted to bring this up because I think they encapsulated well. I think they are correct. Okay, I think their analysis. I think Golden Black's post game analysis has been awesome all season because they seem to be they probably hit the top of their anger. They're not happy. You've got some alums in there. 2 out of 3, I think, are alums.
You mean the guys, the Golden Black guys? Yeah.
I mean, I know Newbert's not, but he's been covering it his whole adult life. That's the thing. It's like, right, he's not an alum, right? Is that true? Okay. And no, nothing against Newbert at all. I think
Newbert's an alum.
Okay, so he is an alum. He's just not from Indiana, right?
That's correct. He's from Connecticut or New Jersey or something.
Okay, so he's dead to me. I hate East Coasters.
I know you do.
Sorry. If anybody knows, Jay's not a Midwesterner. So anyway, so they all had great points, but one of the biggest ones that Newbert came up with was it kind of started a whole snowball with me of thoughts and emotions. I'm in a glass booth of emotions. He said it's clear that Walters was coaching the offense to shorten the game. Right. And I didn't think of that. I was like, holy crap, that's the whole thing they were doing. Yep. Right. Because when I looked at it, I said, it feels like Purdue's a practice squad and the other team's like, hey, run this. We need to work on this. Right. That was the vibe I got on both sides of the ball. They're like, hey, can you try this? Try a zone. We're just going to shred it. Okay. Now when you go on offense, try a jet sweep. You guys are horrible at blocking anyway on the outside. We'll see what happens there. And we're just going to gobble that dude up. Okay. So you've got Purdue trying to shorten the game. And Oregon really sleepwalking to a 35-point win. They didn't do anything special.
Right. It's what I've said about every other team that's beaten the shit out of Purdue. They did nothing special. Think of all the teams that have pounded Purdue. Wisconsin, right. Notre Dame, Nebraska, nothing impressive. Impressive.
Yeah. So if there's a comment over here, Dylan says I sound like a robot. So I don't know what that is. If that's...
You sound fine to me, but I feel like that's happened before.
It's happened. Usually, you guys sound like robots in my ear, so that's neat. That's a new change. I don't know why that. If that's the case, somebody else agree with Dylan, so he's not the only one. I don't know what I'll do.
You could always drop and rejoin if that would.
Yeah, I'll have to. Especially if you're missing all these nuggets. That's what a robbery of all the good people out there to not be able to hear this. So that's the first thing. So you've got, like I said, you've got all this momentum coming in from the previous game, and then you've got that. Where you just say, okay, we're just going to try to stay alive. And then we saw Walters get totally angry about missing the field goal when they're down by 21. So they weren't even going to try to make that thing exciting. Mm-hmm. This is the thing. I said there's been different levels of bad we've seen under Purdue coaches. You saw, I think Hope looked confused a lot, especially if the games were close, right? You'd look over and he's like yelling at his coordinators, trying to figure out buzz feedback. That's bad. Buzz feedback is bad. Very buzzy. I might sign off and try to come back.
That's fine.
It's not my mic, by the way. There's some demon in my computer, and I'm going to come back. So these are gems too. So we'll come back. Son of a gun. All right, here we go.
So while I'm here alone, been left to mind the store, I'll share a couple of comments. I don't know if I'm ever going to say this name right. Ashkuldi? Newbert has an East Coast personality. I don't know if that's a shot. I don't know. It might be. We were also asked, was Anish fired? The Noodle asks, was Anish fired? Anish is taking some much-deserved relaxation. He'll probably share with you where he is on the Twitters or his Instagram. If you know his Twitter, you can probably find his Instagram. He may be posting there. Anish is living it up. He deserves a little time off. So we gave him that time off, especially after soldiering through Purdue and driving to that many tailgates. And then Greg points out that the PAC stands for that product. Babinski not let that type of situation fester. It's definitely true that you got to be careful, right? You really have to be careful with that kind of stuff. I think this is the challenge that we've got here, and that the school has, that Babinski has, is, and we've talked about this before. You don't want to fire someone, unnecessarily quickly, but at the same time, you can't let it fester to a point where you've lost everything. And that was what Boiler Dad was getting at a little while ago about how the crowd showed out. And I'm here to tell you, I was in the building. I know several of you were too. That's legit, man. It was a great showing. It was 8 p.m. on a Friday night too. I don't want to be like Morgan Burke, but that is a little harder. That's a little harder for people.
It's harder. It's hard. How do I sound now? Am I buzzing again?
To me, you sound really
okay.
good.
Am I loud on your side? Too loud? I don't know.
No, I can turn it down slightly.
Okay. Hopefully that solved it. But anyway, tell me if I'm buzzing. I mean, you guys can't tell because I'm like so good at wait, that's a different thing. No, tell me if there's an audible buzz. Okay. Thanks for letting us know, Dylan. Seriously. It is hard. It is more difficult on the older fans too, specifically guys my dad's age. They're good fans, but if you're over 65, 70, this is hard for some of these guys to be home at 2 a.m. This is difficult. So
yes,
perfectly loud. Okay.
Dylan does ask if that's an Arizona State shirt. It is. This is from hold on, let me take Spear the Fork. My niece goes to Arizona State, and it's a home field shirt. And if you go to Home Field Apparel and at a boiled 25 at checkout, you'll get 15% off your first order. Look at that. Look at that smooth read.
That was awesome. And I'm going to say something about the Arizona State. If there's I can say this because she's not my relative, Jay, but I can tell you, Jay's a handsome man, but the good-looking side of the family is in Arizona State. All the rumors of Arizona State, all the reputation of what Arizona State girls look like. She fits in. She's okay.
Oh yeah, she's in the right place.
Yeah, she's a good fit. So, but you look better in that shirt, and I wish it were tighter. Glad you're wearing it though. Still.
Give me a few months of winter layers, and it'll be warm.
I keep saying I'm building up the. I always say huggable is the best adjective I can find. But yeah, you can be even warmer and more huggable. So it's tough on the fans, and the fans did what they could. It was awesome to see. On TV, it was excellent. But the funny thing is, my expectations come into that along with my family. So we were all in the same vacation spot. We go every year. Mm-hmm. We have, let's see, there are 5 season ticket holders at that place. And sometimes we get lucky with where fall break falls and we can miss it, but generally we miss a game. And we were all like, okay, how do we get back? How do we get back for this game? We were trying to figure out before the season, is there a plan B? And then we all said, okay, we just can't do it. Can't make it work because the Friday night game makes it even more difficult. And so, but we all came into that game like with no enthusiasm at all. So it was neat to see that the student section looked live. I mean, like when they cut to the live feed, everybody looked like they were in, man.
Dude, it was live. It was live past halftime, right? The student section has been emptying out at halftime. And it was now in the brigade in the end, that was getting a little lighter. But like, how it wraps around a little bit there. There was a lot of people still there. Yeah. Like,
hey, did you get Joe Bear's comment up there reinforcing what I said? It's good.
What's that? That he's
Friday happy birthday, Joe.
Birthday. And yes, late starts are tough.
Hey, happy birthday. That's awesome, Joe.
It's tough on all of us. It's tough on all of us.
It is. It's tougher than it was 5 years ago for me. I'll be real honest. Like that's the thing. Like, I used to be a guy that could go on 5 hours sleep for a week, 2 weeks in a row before I had to catch up a little bit. But yeah, it's not as easy as it used to be. But those games are fun. The environment's great. The funny thing is, coming into the season, you heard people mentioning that spoiler maker moniker and all that. I'm like, yeah, Coach Walters got to do something to earn that himself because the previous guy was pretty good at getting those guys lathered up and ready.
The thing I was saying going into that game is because I was regaling my son with stories of when Purdue has done things like this, right? And what's interesting is you think back to the 2009, whatever it was, that Ohio State, Ryan Kerrigan terrorized Terrell Pryor all day.
Yeah.
And they won. Purdue was 1-5. That was the hope first year, and they were 1-5. But remember, they had lost a tight Notre Dame game. They had lost a tough game by 2 up at Oregon. They were 1-5, but we knew they were better than 1-5.
Right.
He was like, "Oh, they're 1-5 again. You never know." And I'm like, "Here's the thing."
That was a poorly attended game. I mean, I think we talked about that. Was a tough one. Yeah,
we're giving up by that. But that team had Ryan Kerrigan. The 2018 team had Rondell Moore. Like these teams that do those things usually have some talent.
They've got a hook, right? Something that really defines.
And this team, as we've said, they've got talent on the team, but they don't have someone who's like a no doubter Sunday player.
Right.
Where they're going to literally tilt the field, just like Ryan Kerrigan did that day.
I'm going through my head through the roster, and I'm just trying to think. The problem is, Well, this is tough because you can think back, Allstott played on a 1-win Purdue team.
That's amazing.
It is incredible, right? And so did, there's another guy who had a good NFL career. John Crick didn't have it. Who am I thinking of? Skininga, right? Mm-hmm. He was on that one. He was on 1-win team too. Mm-hmm. And if you think back to the Hazel teams, you had Mostert and Hunt on that, right? What?
The Hazel era should be studied because not only did they have NFL players on those rosters, they had future popular, successful NCAA coaches.
Yeah.
Like I joke with you guys all the time. The Hazel coaching tree has more fruit than what?
It's unreal. It's unreal. It doesn't make any sense.
Very strange. And that he had NFL talent on those teams, which simply reinforces what we all thought at the time, which was this they can't be this bad. That's why you fire someone, because they can't be that terrible. Like They can't, to show no imagination and just be run over every week. I mean, my goodness. So
hey, let's do this. So there was let's see. Okay, so first thing, and I talked about this in my pregame. I think it was pregame when someone called me and they said bullshit on my opinion of IU being good this last week. And Jay, you did weeks ago, but I think you drew it back because you're like, okay, I've watched them now. They're good. They're good. But it was this last week. It was like on Friday or Thursday. I did a pregame thing. Maybe it was Friday. I don't know. And somebody said, "Oh, they're not that good." And I'm like, "Man, I watched them. The way they finish these games, they are really good. Good teams do what they're doing at the end of games. They look stronger and better than their opponent at the end of the game." And boy, they proved out that thesis. But let's compare and contrast this, because I know I really want to push my thumb right in the eye of all my friends who are Purdue backers right now. But if you compare and contrast the way IU was still playing in the fourth quarter versus the way Purdue was playing in the second quarter, Purdue looked like they were almost saying, okay, let's just get us to halftime. Just get us to halftime. IU was trying to score and score and score. IU had a second string quarterback in the second half, and they just kept coming at Nebraska. It wasn't like they're like, oh shit, we got to change the playbook. We're in deep trouble here. No, they were aggressive the entire game. And they kind of have a bit of what we loved about the Tiller teams, where they say, okay, hey, we're going to make this so hard on you because we're going to force you to get into a pace that you may not be very comfortable with. We've got IU's defense is obviously good. In fact, I would argue Tiller teams only had a defense close to what IU's is now once or twice during his whole time here. But IU's got both of them happening right now. They've got offense and defense. They're not letting off the gas. That's my whole point. They are going hard. And at the same time, you've got Purdue, which I don't even know if I used to have a car that idled real high. Remember that 91 Acura that I bought?
Yeah.
It had 44,000 miles on it. I bought it, 3 years ago? And I would start it, I'd back it out, and I would let off the brake, and that car would just start going. Okay? So to me, that's about what Purdue's offense is. It's a high idle. Right? That's not what you want out of an offense. And I'm not just, like I said, I'm not disparaging any of the guys that are playing on this team at all. Gosh, this play calling, it's horrible. And Golden Black now says, these again, they're like, hey, give the play calling back to Coach Simmons. I agree, but at the same time, I'm like, are we going to see a change in 2 weeks?
No.
There's a philosophical problem that seems to be in the bones of the program right now, right? Is that an unfair statement? Am I going too far?
No, there's a lack of, it's not having any answers. I mean, we'll just say what we've said off the air. There's too many things where this coaching staff does not have any answers. They don't have ideas. And there's little remarks that are made in press conferences that underscore that make you think, ooh, he doesn't have any idea what to do next.
Right.
I have some sympathy for him. I have empathy, whatever the word would be. He never done this before. He's learning. And he doesn't have anyone he can turn to. He didn't hire anyone to be a sage,
which is completely on him, right? This is the thing we keep hearing. The apologists. There still are a couple out there. They're on Twitter. I've had a couple people say you just got to be patient. But wait, because they said his coordinators are they're the problem.
I always love that. You hired those guys.
It's your choice. They gave it to you. Like they're like, okay, go get your guys, build your staff. We're going to give you the money to do it.
Look, I understand the idea of saying, hey, a season and a half is not giving a guy much time. I agree with that it's what I always talk about, macro level versus micro level. If I just said to you without any other facts, no matter how bad a team is looking, and they've collected 5 wins over a year and a half, you'd say, all right, that's not catastrophic. If you have 1 win over a season and a half, then something's really wrong. But 5
been
wins,
there,
you're like, oh, 2 or 3 a year. All right, that's not good, but it is too early to fire him. But it's not about that. It's about what you're seeing and the way it's being done. And I'll give you a parallel. I didn't realize this till this weekend. Kansas going into this weekend was also 1-5, right? But every one of their losses has been a hard luck loss by 3 points, 6 points. They're scoring 34, but they're giving up 38. That kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Hey, can you bring up Greg's comment real quick and keep on your riff here in a second? But just bring this up and we'll read it in a second.
Is like there's a huge difference between that 1-5 and a Purdue 1-5. If that Kansas team played Purdue, they'd beat them by 40. I really believe that. And then they won this weekend. And the other thing I'll say before we jump to this comment, I just want to close the loop on your comment about IU. I was one of the ones saying, nah, it's the schedule. Now, the difference is Tom Allen teams, previous IU teams would have started hot. They would have lost when they went out to UCLA. They would have lost that game.
Yeah, they would have.
The UCLA is not good.
I think that was probably the one that tipped you to say, yeah, this is a little different.
Yeah, I was like, man, maybe they are. Now, though, no, it's not what tipped it. The fact that their closest win is by 14 points. They've won by 14 or more. That's 2 scores, folks. That's double digits, way into the double digits in every single game. That's not a fluke. You can't, if Purdue had that schedule and was 7-0 and was blowing everybody out, you would all be enraged if people said, oh, this is soft. This isn't
right.
They're 7-0.
And can you imagine what campus would be like? Holy moly.
They're 4-0 in the Big Ten. Ryan, they have the inside track for the Big Ten title game right now.
They've got. So somebody put this on Twitter: 62% chance of going to the playoff.
Yes, they've got. So here's their big thing: they have to go to Ohio State. Okay, and Oregon's probably not going to lose. So Oregon's going to probably be in the Big Ten title game. Maybe they will. I don't know. But right now, Indiana's got the same record as Oregon. Like, right.
They're going to beat Michigan. They're going to beat Michigan. And that was one of the games that I thought kept them from the double-digit wins.
So did I.
They're beating Michigan.
The only tough game, the only really questionable, they got Washington and Michigan at home. They got Michigan State on the road, which I think they'll win.
Yeah.
And they have Ohio State on the road. I think they will lose that.
Ohio State's. But the funny thing is, boy, if you need a barometer before you go into postseason, because they will get. That's the funny thing. They will get to the playoff if they only lose to Ohio State, boys and girls.
So game day is going to Bloomington this week.
Yep.
They're 7-0, 8-9. What if they're 10-0 when they go to Ohio State? Game day will be there again. They'll be at Ohio State for that one because they'd be 10-0 against 9-1.
Yeah, it's a wild state of things, and Purdue fans on Twitter who are trying to argue that IU's not good. Just let's stop that. In fact, I would argue, just say, if you like college football, you got to kind of love this. Jay, this is the thing that you talk about all the time. A team getting having a historic year. We've watched Kansas do things like this over the years, and we've watched West Virginia do things like this over the years.
When I say, why not us?
Why the hell not us, right? And now you feel like it's 1,000 years away because now you're like, we're back in the Stone Age.
Greg's comment that we brought up is burning up your screen. He said the postgame assessment of, quote, why would we change our process now from Walters was something. Yeah, he didn't just say that. I watched that after I saw it.
He was pissed. What didn't
I saw a few of you quote it, and he was annoyed at that question. And he said, I'm confused as to why.
Any of you would ask that question, why we should change, right? Is that what he said?
I'm confused as to why we would change our process. I don't know, because you're 1-6 and you just got shut out and you can't score at all, save for one half. So that's the other disappointing thing was that if they had put up points, I thought they were going to lose that game like 60-30 to Oregon. I thought they'd give up more than they did, but Oregon, as you said, sleepwalked through it because, of course, they were coming off that Ohio State win. You were always going to come down a little bit.
Right. So if they would have lost, was it Brahms last year when Purdue got beaten pretty soundly by Ohio State, but scored a lot of points? I
point to that game all the time as a game. Purdue scored 31 in that game.
Right. And they were never in it.
They were never in it, but they had a good enough offense. They were one of the only teams that put up points on Ohio State that year.
In fact, towards the end of the game, I think O'Connell drove them up and down the field like a couple of times, right?
I was not afraid. The thing we always said about Purdue, any version of Purdue, they're not afraid of Ohio State. And I was like that.
Which is weird, so weird.
And the other thing I pointed out about that game, and I remember people being mad that Ohio State was running it up. And I remember saying, you know what Ryan Day has reminded them of for 4 years? What Purdue did to them in their house.
Right.
And he reminded them of that constantly. And I said at the time, I respect Ohio State for saying, no, we're going to show you who you are and who we are. We're going to
show the difference. We're going to show the difference.
And you still put up 31, which nobody, again, look back at that season. Ohio State, I think the only team that scored that against them was Michigan. So Purdue showed fine, but the defense couldn't stop that Ohio State team.
Yeah.
But that's the point. I thought it would be something, maybe not even that good, but I thought Purdue, okay, they figured something out. They're going to score some points. They're going to at least put up some points. And they didn't put up any points. So to fall back, not just to lose, but to fall back to the pre-Illinois State, which is what it was, right? I mean, actually, here's a weird thing that I meant to point out to you earlier when you were talking about the stats. Do you realize that Purdue won the time of possession battle?
Yeah.
How many teams?
I don't know how that makes any sense, but
5 touchdowns and won the time of possession battle.
But I would say that's probably, here's the weird thing. That's exactly what the coaching staff was going after, to control,
that's what I mean.
To keep Oregon off the field.
In a little way, you succeeded. You did something you did work. It only works though if you get in the end zone a few times.
Right. It wasn't like they're playing a possession battle and Oregon couldn't move the ball down the field. Oregon could do whatever they wanted to on them.
Right.
So yeah, it's rough to watch. My son, I think he stayed for the whole thing, which I was proud of him for doing that, but I probably would have stayed for that one. So here, this is another thing. I don't mean to piggyback everything on Gold and Black, but I will. I thought this was a funny thing. They said worst losses of the season. How do you rate them out? 1 through, I'm not going to go through all of them, but your bottom 3 losses this year, Jay, what's your number 1?
Notre Dame.
Yes, absolutely. So they didn't have Notre Dame as number 1. They had
who didn't?
GBI. I think they had Wisconsin as number 1. I was like, what? No. Notre Dame is absolutely the number 1 because of all the context of that, right? That one hurts worse than any of them.
Yeah, you still had some belief. You still had some. Yeah, that was a crushing loss in every way, and it set the tone for the rest of the season. Clearly, they haven't stopped losing that way.
Right. They set a precedent. They've stuck with. So we're all looking for an identity. This team, we've got it. We just don't like it.
Right. We're still waiting to see. Why would we change our process? You cannot literally
change.
You can't be any worse. You can't be any worse. And I'll say, we were talking about IU. We'll bring this a little full circle. One of the only fun parts of this was that they did that to Nebraska over the weekend. They didn't just beat Nebraska; they beat the brakes off Nebraska.
Yeah,
6-7, and
they tore their heart out. Like literally, really at the end of the game, you're like, that team does not resemble the Nebraska team I've watched play this season.
It almost felt a little bad.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you about that very point, because I know but you've already washed some of that hatred clean because
I don't hate Rule, and I do enjoy watching. It's all about the fans at Nebraska generally, but but Rule saying I didn't. I mean, I give him some credit too, because he did what Walters kind of hasn't done, and he just took it on the chin, and he said, "I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't think we'd get beat like that. I thought we'd play better than that." That's at least his honest. He didn't say, No, we're going to stick to our guns. He said, I didn't think that would happen. I mean, that's admitting, man, that team came out and punched you in the mouth. And I love, their fans are already turning. I love it. I love it so much. They're already talking about how Rule's not the guy. And I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Eat it up. They're 5-2. Aren't they 5-2? Would you take
Matt Rule in West Lafayette?
Hell yes.
I knew that answer. So it's funny. I was on a
perfect reclamation project for him. It's perfect.
Yeah, I don't want to get into this too much. The stuff that we actually talk about.
Game, do we?
No, I don't want to do it yet. We can do though. We can talk a little bit more about, you kicked the show off with rumors, and we can address that just a little bit without jumping all the way into it.
About that. But I do want to put Adam's comment up. He said it will be very funny when we beat IU this year. Yeah, I will agree with you.
That would be amazing.
Hilarious.
Yes.
And
there's no way in hell.
I would forgive a lot for that, but
I would forgive a whole bunch, especially in the context of IU being this good. Like it would be amazing.
Would be maybe the funniest thing that could possibly happen. And college is full of funny things, I will say.
Okay, Jay, hold on. Because we really, opposed to everybody on Twitter who all knows exactly. I've been talking about this. Everybody's got the script in their hands about what's going to happen with the future, except for me and you. Maybe you and I are the only the ones who don't know.
Yeah.
But everybody else knows. So would you? Okay, here I'm going to give you a scenario. Purdue competes with Northwestern, like down to the down. They work their fingers to the bone. They lose by less than 7. Okay. Mm-hmm. Purdue almost beats Michigan State. And then they beat IU by 10.
Wow.
Is that enough that you'd say, you know what? Let's give it one more year and see if he can't put together, but we got to change the coordinators.
What was the first one? They win no more but IU? Or
they win no more but IU, but they have 2 games that they fight like hell. Like that
2 more like Illinois second halves.
Yes. Let's say you're seeing like up and down. They're scoring a ton of points, but they lose a close one in Northwestern. They lose by a field goal. Northwestern's last possession. And then at Michigan State, you go there, which Michigan State has been a tough place for Purdue to play historically. Mm-hmm. Go to Michigan State, and same thing. Let's say you lead the whole game and you lose. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then you go and you beat IU by 10 and you're up by like 14 or 17, but they scored a cheap one at the end. You like kind of had it the whole second half.
I don't see how he doesn't come back if that scenario.
Right. And you probably would say, you know what? Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say a drastic turnaround.
You have to clean house and bring in the right coordinators. Mm-hmm. And if I'm Babinski, I say I want involvement in that decision.
Yeah,
I want to know what you're doing and what your plan is and why you're bringing in each of these guys. But yeah, I think you're kind of committed.
See the caller over here? You see the comment? Anish Ramaswamy. I've never heard of him. Never been on here before.
Where is he?
He's down at the bottom.
Is he? I'll
just read it. It says, first time, long time. Why can't Drew Brees just be the interim coach? I'll take the answer off the air.
I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah. Thanks. Is it Anish? Is that right? Did I pronounce that?
Is that Ramaswamy?
Yeah, that's tough. So,
yeah, shut up, Anish.
if you guys don't get why that's funny, you haven't been listening very hard to Anish.
So to your point, there's been rumors. And I think we should talk about it just briefly because I think you've all heard it. And if you haven't, you can go search the Twitters. But I guess if you haven't, I should tell you. There have been pretty unsavory rumors about Coach Walters over the last week and a half. And they do not appear to be very well-founded. But we don't know.
They stretch, by the way, if you dig deeper, because they stretch deep into the internets. You've got people. They're on Reddit. They're on. Yeah.
But I think
everybody's neighbor gives a lot of money to Purdue. That's what I've learned.
It's either he did something pretty unsavory and either it happened and that's gross and something's going to happen because of it, or it didn't happen and the people who spread it and are saying it because it's a way to maybe get the rumor going to get rid of them. That's also pretty gross. That's
it's real gross. Here's the thing I want to caution everybody. Okay. And I'm not your dad. I'm not whatever. And you have the right to do whatever you want. You have the right to make yourself look like a dumbass all you want on the internet. Here's the thing. Pretend for a second you're somebody who believes a source, which is fine. And that's okay. You believe a source, and then you went all in and you started naming times and dates when this was whatever was going to happen. Okay. Well, you've been wrong now multiple times. Okay. You've been wrong. Even if something happens later in the week, you've already been wrong a couple times. You look pretty stupid. Okay. If you don't realize why you look stupid, it's because you named specifics and then it came and went and didn't happen. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Now, the second part I want everybody to think about, and if this is not true, if it's not true, this is a family that has to hear and see this stuff. That's the thing. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to say like, I think this is, oh, look at that. I hate these rumors. Very unfair to Walters and his family. It's really unfair to his family. 2 little boys, they hear everything. His wife hears everything. And I pray it's not true for that reason, just because these are real people.
It's going to be out there and they're going to hear all about it.
Yeah.
If it's true. So why talk about it now when it's unfounded? It's going to be out soon enough if that's really what happened. What I really love is the people who say, they give you a timeline. Like there's one guy yesterday who was, within 24 hours and then nothing happened. It's like, what? And so I replied to him this day. I said, 24 hours from what? What are we?
This is a good one. Travis Brennan says, and you don't have to bring it up or not. It says, for the part related to his wife not being in town, I saw her and her kids walk in front of my section. That's at the game on Friday, I assume, Travis.
Mm-hmm.
And the rumor has, and I'm not going to even tell what the rumor is because it doesn't deserve anything. But if the rumors were true, that's not possible. Part of the rumor was that that's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're actors. That's probably more likely. There are actors impersonating his family. This is horseshit, guys and girls. It's not right. It's not right. It's not right. Here's the other thing. Pretend for a second you have first-person knowledge of this. Let's do this for a second. Another thought exercise.
Mm-hmm.
You have first-person knowledge of it, meaning you saw something that you didn't want to see. Is this what you want? Is that what you want to go on social media with there too? I mean, I'm serious. What the heck, man?
I can't get over the people who really just want like 2 seconds of clout or fame or whatever. That's what they want, and it's so bad and it's so dumb. And I respect the people who've sent stuff to you on the side quietly.
I do too.
Hey, have you heard this? I've heard this, but they're not out there spreading it. They're saying,
no. And I don't have a problem with that. That's one-on-one. They're not telling me that it's definite. They're just saying, hey, I'm hearing stuff that's, yeah. Here's the other thing. I'll say another thing. So pretend for a second you're me. You're Boiler Dowd, okay? And I've been saying, number one, this is a good guy, okay? Because I've met him a couple times. And I've been saying, I also thought he was a good coach. So I've been doubly duped on this one. I'm gonna, if that's the case, but we don't know if part of it's the case. But I have been duped in one way because I was all in at the beginning of the season. That's the big thing. I was all in. I was like, okay, Purdue's going to take a step forward as a coach. So I feel, like I said, I tell you, I feel tricked in this case. But the next part is, if I came up and I met Jay for the first time ever, he shook my hand, looked me in the eye, and he said, my name's Jay Bartholomew Money. That's your first name, a full name, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah. So Jay Bartholomew Money introduces it, and I say, man, that's a good guy right there. You know what? It's not a bad sign on me for saying I believe him because he looked me in the eye and he's a nice guy. And I don't think that's I don't think I look like a jerk for believing him. If he wants to live a different way away from me, that's on him, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad about that. If you said, yeah, I thought like Anish really, really likes this coaching staff and he wants this to work out. Okay, good. That's okay. Anish and I can disagree on what we think is going to happen versus how much rope should be given with this coaching staff and all that stuff. We can disagree on that. But I don't think it's a bad thing that Anish is really all in on the guy. I don't think that's bad. I don't think it's bad for any of you guys to be that way.
No.
I do think there are human beings here on the other side. That's the bad thing. That's the real bad thing about what's happening on the internet. So it's like the same thing about maybe you're one of these people that when you get on the internet, you're a completely different person. This is where, this is not only your playground, this is where you feel your best because you're not the most confident person in the world. Okay, fine. But you're like a different person and you're the person who acts like they're about to fight you on the internet. You would never do that in person, but on the internet, you're like 10 feet tall and bulletproof. Okay. Why you gotta do that? What the hell, man? Just be yourself.
Right.
Don't make it so like when I meet you, I'm like so let down because I'm like, man, this guy's fun. This dude's he's a fiery one. Then I meet you and you barely can look me in the eye and shake my hand, whatever. So
as we pivot,
that's stupid.
Yeah, away from this stupidity, we wanted to mention it, but we don't think, I think well, that's enough, I think, on that. But before we pivot into that, I do want to say I was on campus and I brought my two boys to the place I always go first when I'm on campus, and that is to the fire station. And then after I go there, I go into.
Did you guys all get hats at the fire station?
Oh, are there
little
hats?
Badges?
There hats available?
Yeah, like if you go to fire station.
Oh, like a fireman's hat?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Little kids always put them on backwards because they think it's baseball cap, but it's different. Right. It's to keep the hot embers from falling on your back.
So I went into AJ's. I was there with both my boys, and Anish walks in, and lo and behold, within minutes, a mom comes over because I don't know if you guys know this, but moms love Anish. He's got that demographic just nailed down. And it was one of the players' moms just want to give a shout out. I'm not going to maybe say who because no, I don't know if she wants.
I don't know if she wants to be on the air. Yeah.
I don't know if she wants that said, but she came over and said hello. Very kind. We appreciate that. We appreciate her saying we're funny, which I mean, Anish is. I'm sure a lot of moms find Anish funny. He's very recognizable everywhere I go. And do you know how? He threw me a bone this weekend. I said everywhere I go with you, people. Oh, Bold Sports, and he goes, I think it's probably the two of us together. I was like, that's nice of you to say. It's you they spot, the tall Indian guy.
Well, the funny thing, like, my brothers and I, when we had tickets together, years ago during the Tiller time, it was because I had my nickname Boiler Dowd was out there, and I had told people who I was, and they'd say it's Boiler Dowd, his brother, and the other one. That was my older brother was the other one. And so would you be the other one in this equation? Would you be, you think so?
For sure.
So it'd probably be like Handsome Anish, Boiler Dowd, and the other one.
Right. I think my wife said something like, it's probably like they recognize you after they see Anish. They're like, oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I said, that's probably right. That's right.
Well, you have a couple disadvantages. You're not 3.5 feet tall and 3.5 feet wide.
Or 6.5 feet tall.
Or 6.5 feet tall and 1 foot wide. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we got upstairs.
You're like, are you 5'10"? Is that right?
5'11".
Okay, yeah. So you're taller than average.
We got upstairs and we ran into a Purdue assistant volleyball coach who couldn't wait to take a picture and post it to the Instagram, which revived our Instagram, by the way. I don't know if you saw that, but the Instagram.
No, I didn't see that.
It turned out Michael was still logged into the Instagram. I don't even know how to get into it.
No,
so he was sharing.
That's great
on there. It was terrific. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, did we get tens of thousands of subscribers right away?
Just flooded in. Flooded in.
So by the way, at Coach Sundell, the squad is legit. LBD was at the game along with 14,500 fellow Boilermakers, and they rolled IU. Absolutely, just went through them like hot knife through butter. That was awesome to see, and the crowd looked great. And did they say it's the highest attended Big Ten game ever? Is that true? Somebody in the margins could tell me.
That sounds right.
That's incredible. Because I said right when I saw the crowd, I was like, okay, Mackey's full. That's awesome. So he sent me. The funny thing is, he sent me a video. LBD sent me a video of him and his friends doing the thing in basketball, like they do for the paint crew, where they're all arms are locked and leaning back and forth, and he said he was on TV with his phone recording the video for me. I was like, oh, so you're like one of those people that can't enjoy the game because you got the phone.
Just living in the moment.
Exactly. Just living in the moment. But it was really nice. His intention was good to show me what, how fun it was. So
it was Michael Burrill, as his name, was the assistant volleyball coach. I should have mentioned him by name.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, he was excited. As soon as we walked in, oh my gosh, Bold Sports. I was like, yeah, again, a niche. Anyway,
that's wild.
So if you, I think the one thing I'll put a bow on.
So Greg Manda says it's the largest conference matchup attendance because in Nebraska had that huge game in the football their stadium last year or 2 years ago, whatever. It was the biggest volleyball game ever, I think.
It was, but does that count in a football stadium? I mean, it counts, but it's like
it counts for something
unless you put it in a football stadium. So
yeah.
I would just put a bow on the whole Walters thing is to say, listen, folks, I think he's here for the rest of the season. At this point, you go into the bye week and he's still there. I think he's probably there for the rest of the season. Don't you think?
Well, I think some are saying noon tomorrow. I'm just kidding.
Well, but who coaches? The point that I've seen a few people.
It's the best point.
Got rid of him.
It's the best point.
Who coaches out the season?
Yeah.
You're paying him anyway. Just play out the season. It's not like he's going to win out the last 4 or 5 games. Like, I don't think.
Yeah, and it should have all become real to us. The size of the situation when you fire Graham Harrell, right? And you're like, okay, what do we do? I mean, that's going to be a much worse moment when you say who's going to be the head coach, because we talked about the problems of not having a guy that calls plays. Well, now you've got a guy who has to add. That's like saying, okay, and I put this parallel out there all the time. A football head coach in modern college football is a bit of a CEO. He's got to do a lot of things, right? He's got to entertain the media. He's got to talk to the players. He's got to corral the coaches. He's got to orchestrate a lot of things. So that'd be like saying, okay, we're going to move a guy who he's not a VP. He's a assistant to the regional director. Okay. And now he's the CEO. And that's the type of thing I think you're dealing with. No offense to any of the coaches. These guys they're going to grow up. All these coaches on his staff, who knows? That staff could be as good as Hazel's one day.
Right.
Where they all go all directions and you end up with a couple Division I coaches and, guys in the NFL and all that stuff, which happened for Hazel, by the way. That's all true.
Right.
There's, 2 active college coaches right now from Hazel's tree, right?
At least 2.
Right. At least 2.
Right.
So one day this group could be that. I mean, there's no reason to think they couldn't, but they've got to grow into their roles. That's really the problem, is all of them are under experience right now. So,
well, so what else do you want to talk about tonight?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about basketball. We had some requests.
Basketball.
The pill, the rock, y'all. Okay, so I want to talk about basketball. I want to talk about practice. So this is fun because we
practice.
Not a game. It was a scrimmage. It was 3 scrimmages, right? And so that's the funny thing. I got to watch it on like everybody, like most people, I think. I got to watch it via tape delay. It was nice. Like the creatives always do a good job kind of bringing that package together. Everything looked great. But Jay, he got to see it in person. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know this until right before we went live. This is awesome. So, and a couple of you guys asked for me to do a quick cast on basketball. I was going to do one this afternoon, but I was like, I'm not going to undercut this. I got notes and things, my big takeaways. Yeah. So, oh, good. The buzz is back. You mean like the buzz in the air for basketball, or? That's probably. It's probably not. Probably not. Basketball beat. Tell me if it's got to be back. So I've got to sign out and come right back. Jay, talk amongst yourself.
I will. Talk
Be right back. Yourself. There it is. Be right back.
That's fine. I will. I'll go ahead and do a little one-offing here. Noodle, you say how much worse is the claiming for heads due to the fact that IU is 7-0? I actually don't know how much that impacts this. I don't think it helps, but I don't think Purdue's like losing recruits to IU or losing fans to IU. You know what I mean? So I don't really think it doesn't help. Like I said, but I think if IU was also 1-6, would you feel any better about this? I think the answer is no. I don't think anybody really gives a shit about IU. I think, again, it sucks if they go 10-1 and they start winning recruiting battles. That's not great. Let's see here. The Noodle also says Greg is still easier to take than IU making a run in basketball. I think I agree with that. I don't want to see IU winning in basketball. I'll have to. There's one here for Boiler Down. I'll have to get back to. Is that a problem here? Adam says this is the business. What expectations are we holding the program to? What direction do we want the program to go? Mediocrity tolerated will bleed back into the fan base expectation, unfortunately. I don't know that it'll bleed into the fan base expectation so much. I think what it'll do is it will kill the vibe around the team. So these games where the stadium is full and they've still got some sellouts, that will be what's gone. And those of you who remember the Hazel era, which was not that long ago, you remember how absolutely depressing it got. Like, we've seen stadiums half full before, but to see it looking like it did, like, oh my goodness, it was really bad. And that's what I think happens if you let this go on too long. It's less about fan base expected. The fans will still expect what they expect. They'll just stop showing up. I mean, that's what they'll do. They're not going to fill that stadium. I think you have to show what you're doing to right the ship after this season, whether that means he shows out well in the last few games, the team shows out and they start to clear the decks and get better assistance in, or you go in a new direction. But you got to do something to start to get those fans to still re-up. Because when it comes to re-upping tickets, that's going to be the key. When people re-up tickets, is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. I love the point that IU's football success is much easier to swallow than basketball success. I think that's a huge point. I think it's very easy for me. I mean, how about you guys? Maybe I'm way out of line here, but how many of you guys know really big IU fans? I always can think of one person. One, he's a great fan. He's gone to bowl games in the past. He's gone to really bad. He's a season ticket holder. He's a legit IU football fan. But I know more like my neighbor who are like, yeah, we always leave the game right at the beginning of the second half. Even if it's good or bad game, we just leave.
What?
Yes. And it's like the culture. It's what they do. And so I'm like, you guys don't deserve this. You don't deserve this.
Yeah. We also had Jeff and Francisco says, how can you call this a handsome hour with no niche?
Well, get into your history book and really let's find out what the handsome hour is all about.
There's a question for you in here that I wanted to bring up. If Purdue beats IU, we'll now get another Purdue tat. Who can say?
Who's to say? Exactly. I do not have a motion P that's large and prominent anywhere. Oh, get a neck tat. My mom would be proud. It was hilarious. It's the first time she had seen the tat because we were on beach area. So she saw me without my shirt on, and she was very upset that I had a new tattoo.
She was?
Yeah, she doesn't like it. She's seen it multiple times because I have a tendency, I'll just do this, and she does not like seeing that. But having,
I like it when they already know and then they see it and they get mad all over.
Yeah, Matt, it's like it's stoked the flames.
I thought it'd be gone by now.
Exactly. I thought it would wear off. Yeah, my mom, God bless her, she may think that they do. Does
your mom know you're 49?
I think she might. I'm not positive. The hard thing is, I'll always be her little boy. Even with the gray beard and the no hair and the two kids, one of them in college. So
Greg is addressing Anisha's comment about Drew. I like this little shade that Greg's throwing. He says, Anish, Drew Brees as interim coach really hampers his attendance at Texas home games. He was at the Texas game this weekend. He was out of the yeah.
There's a lot of things that I got to tell you. This is my favorite Purdue athlete ever. There's a lot of things that I'm like,
This is Anisha's point about, I think it's Anisha's point about not using him for that, because you don't just leave him where he is.
Exactly.
Perfect in the history of Purdue.
It's great the way it is. It's great that he was literally the best ambassador for Purdue sports for 15 years, the Purdue helmet being in his locker room, that sort of thing. Right.
So cool.
It's great.
Wear Purdue shirts and stuff. And
didn't have to do that.
Right. Kevin in Albuquerque says, I thought we already had Drew as an interim coach, and it did not
go well.
No, it didn't.
It did not go well.
Yes. Correct.
So, yeah. Hey, guys, the buzz is gone. I agree. It is over. The buzz is over. I agree. I can't even understand because from what I understand about digital connections is they should stay consistent. Everything's digital here. It's not like I've got an analog box and some coaxial cables, that are hooked to my microphone. Anish actually does have that old school, right? Doesn't he have a mixing box where he's got an old fashioned? So this is all digital and it fades away. It comes and goes. It doesn't make any sense. I've changed out cables. I've done all this stuff with settings. It doesn't make any sense. So let's talk about basketball though. Let's talk about basketball.
Let's do that.
Okay. And let's hear. So my big takeaway, one of my biggest takeaways probably is how good Smith looked on defense in the highlights.
Yeah.
His ability to take away passing lanes is pretty incredible. Yeah. And it turned to points almost every time from what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one. The Harris and Cox duo are extremely impressive. Like those dudes look great. And Cox looks like it comes easy to him, right? Just scoring is simple. Scoring is simple for Cox. I was dancing around that for a minute, trying to avoid it. This is not going to be good. And that's the thing. Watch Boiler Dowd act like a 5-year-old this season is Cox impressive. Boilers win.
My wife loves Cox.
Yeah, exactly. The headlines will be
epic. The tweeting will be, yes.
You think this was reserved just for Penix? Oh, no, it wasn't. Yeah, we're 4 years old.
Well, what I love, what I said to Anish as we sat there watching the scrimmage is I think what I'm excited about is Braden Smith is going to hound the shit out of CJ Cox in practice for the next 2 years.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. That's a really good point.
And he was doing it in the scrimmage. He just was full court pressing him, poking the ball away, just being a nuisance. That's going to make Cox so much better. Right. And he already looks pretty smooth. He already looks pretty good for a freshman.
Yeah.
So
the amazing thing about CJ Cox, as opposed to Harris was a high 4-star, right? He's a guy who was best player in the Atlanta area. He's legit big time, right? He was almost made the Mexican national team, which I still don't understand. But I'm supposed to act like that was totally expected. So I'm going to do it. Okay, yeah. He almost made the Mexican national team.
Part of Mexico.
Huh?
Atlanta's part of Mexico.
Right. It's very simple. It all makes sense. Okay. CJ Cox, though, was a guy that nobody really saw coming and almost saw him as he's the last member of this class. Instead, he's coming in right away. Looks like a bad dude. Looks like he's a junior instead of a freshman, and he scores like with ease, man.
Yeah.
This is nothing but a positive harbinger for the future. So that's a big takeaway. How about this one? Obviously, we've all seen this. Everybody's seen this in video and TKR number. The haircuts, that's month and a half old. But the dude looks lean. He looks different to me.
Yeah, but he still looks big. I don't know. Okay. He still looked.
He's strong from.
He didn't look lean. That's a good way to put it. But he still looked. I think it's possible to lean out but be more muscular and solid, right? Like you can work and
boy, do I know that. That's me at this age. That's exactly. You just described me. Thank you.
He just looks like he looks a little more. He reminds me a little more. And Anish made this comparison too. He looks a little more like Mason Gillis in terms of like a guy you don't want to collide with.
Oh yeah, and he's strong as hell from waist down. I mean, like that's the thing. He sets pretty wide base picks too. So you don't want to mess with that. You don't run that. But yeah, Harris is very impressive to me. I think Harris. So this is an observation, Jay. Tell me if you disagree or agree with this. The first starting five. Great job. Thank you. The first starting five was you had Smith and Fletch, of course, no question. TKR, Harris, and First. Is that foreshadowing?
Foreshadowing what? That's going to be the.
Yeah. And by the way, I was on this one a long time ago thinking First would start, and I think I got mocked pretty openly. It hurt my feelings a lot. I'm still hurting.
Well, isn't he your only senior of note? Only senior?
He's the only senior.
I don't see how you don't start him. I don't get it.
I don't either. And I think especially early in the season, he's always good in December. He's always good in December.
He didn't do anything to lose his job.
Right.
Right? I mean, and he did everything he was asked. And I know his minutes went way down, but that's how Painter is. Painter's not doing that because you're like in the doghouse or something. He just found a mix that worked. And the amazing thing was, it still blows my mind. He had the same starting five all games last year, right?
Yeah, but I think this year is going to get more. So let's think about what I went back and did a little historical thing, you're going to disagree with it here in a minute, I'm pretty sure. So that's great. I already know. But remember, Painter has struggled with lineups and tinkering in December and January for many, many seasons before Zach Edie was there. That was kind of a thing that Painter did. He'd mess around with lineups, and sometimes you're like, this didn't work. And you could tell that was better. Bail on this one. Don't give this one a second try. And he would always give it a second try. So
that's okay. Why would I just, what do you think I'm going to disagree?
No. There's a bigger point that's coming in a minute that you're not going to like. So yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think.
So tell me if I contradict anything or I miss anything out. I keep going. Okay. Burgess is a spark plug, which is interesting for a big man to be a spark plug. I think this has happened one other time right away. I tried to think about that. When has a big man been a guy who's a spark plug right away? I thought Harms. How do you see any parallel with Harms? I know he's a bigger dude than Harms, like wider, stronger than Harms.
I don't think Harms is on the team anymore.
Oh my gosh! Is it? See, now this is breaking.
That's news.
Yeah, this is news. I didn't know. No, but I was just thinking about. So we think about. I think generally, when you think about basketball, you think about guys that are instant energy type guys. Generally, they are Chris Kramer. Coming in, diving for balls. Like taking a charge, that sort of thing. Harms was kind of an unusual novelty that he was. Do you think I'm out of line here when I think of big men are usually that type of?
Oh, I agree.
Okay, but Burgess sounds like he is, and I think it's going to be really hard for Painter to keep him off or out of the lineup because of that. It seems like you got a lot of real steady guys on this team. You need a bit of a wild card every now and again. I think it's a good thing to have on the team. So, okay. So you noticed that too. You saw him as his energy levels high.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Jacobson seems to be a work in progress, a little bit more like what we thought he was before him making the USA team. Was it U19 team? But it looks like there's a couple things. He's probably the best, if not the only real rim protector on the team right now. And so that makes it hard for him not to play.
You don't think Berg could be that?
I think Berg could be, but I don't think he is. I think Berg, to me, seems to be the best rebounder, the best raw rebounder on the team. He's strong as an ox. but he is also incomplete. And you see a lot of this right now. I see a lot of guys that in a year, maybe a year or two of development, they may become even something more. I think Jacobson's one of those guys. I think he's going to grow up a lot in the next year, maybe in the next 6 months, maybe in the next season, we'll see him blossom and turn back into that USA U19 guy. But I think here, in case you're wondering why that happens, because I think a lot of Purdue fans are like, oh man, I thought he was going to be guaranteed starting job. Remember, he was playing all guys that were freshmen in that U19 thing.
Right.
Now he's playing guys that are up to 22, 23 years old.
Right.
And when they play Creighton in this upcoming scrimmage, which I'm not forgetting that that's coming, he's going to play, what's his name? Creighton Center is 23 years old. And this class of All-Americans right now, if you saw our Twitter account, it's very funny. You've got all 22 and 3-year-olds, which you're like, how are these guys not gone? Because they were all freshmen with Edie, and some of them are maybe even older than that. And then you've got the kid from Duke. What's his name? Cooper.
Cooper, some waspy Dookie name.
He's great, though. He's really great player.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad Duke caught a break.
Yeah, finally Duke gets a
That's
guy.
one of my favorite of your bits. I use that a lot.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for them. Yeah, I mean, what will be if this actually goes their way? Who knows what can happen to Duke. Payne had a good quote after the scrimmage. He said, "We need to embrace the physicality of the game," and I overanalyzed that quote because I'll do that. Yep. And I said, I think he's aiming that at specific players, and I haven't mentioned these guys. Huh? Sounded a little bit like that. He was very diplomatic the way he did it. Oh, Joe Inslee, good point. Brian Cardinal, spark plug. Very, very. That's a reference that all of us who are 45 years and older can think of. That tells you have to go back a ways, though, right? Isn't that fair? I think Purdue centers, you've had more Joe Barry Carroll, AJ Hammonds types than you have Brian Cardinal types, right? Even Travion Williams was fun, but I don't know if he was a spark plug, but he was good energy, Kalkbrenner, thank you. Kalkbrenner. Very, very good. Kalkbrenner was, so if you know the story, you had Dickinson was the number one priority. Tell me if I'm wrong, all the margin, and I know, Jay, you don't look at recruiting all that. Dickinson was who Painter wanted. Didn't go his way. Then he thought maybe he can get Kalkbrenner. Didn't go his way, or one or two. And then they fell into this guy named Zach Edie. Gonna have to develop a little bit, but it turned out okay, guys. Turned out okay. I was explaining that to my son because he was like, yeah, I think I remember that. I was like, man, I think it's the most ridiculous blessing Purdue basketball or Purdue sports have ever had. So that's another thing it should cement for you. Recruiting. Just don't worry about it until they're signed. Don't worry about it. Don't lose sleep over it. So, okay. So here we go. So here comes my part that you might not like. Is there anything else you'd like to say about what you saw about live on the scrimmage?
I tweeted this. Purdue has these are the good old days, as we've joked about before. Like, they have so much talent. They've got two teams. They can roll out a B team that would beat a lot of Big Ten teams. Mm-hmm. I'm confident in saying that. Like, when you watch the way they split them up and they were playing against each other, I mean, I'm sure there's other teams with a lot of talent too. Purdue has just so much talent and potential and experience. Like, it's so fun. And this year is going to be so fun because there's no expectations, I don't think. Not none, but not like nobody's like, oh, Zach Edie, got to go to a final, got to overcome the fact that you lost to a 16. There's none of that this year. So I'm kind of excited about this.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. And I think that's the right way to look at. I wish I looked at most seasons that way, but think about how differently we were feeling a year ago. Like, goodness gracious.
It changed so crazily. Right. But the difference this year is it's not going to be an entire season of, yeah, that's nice, but let's go to the tournament. It won't be an entire season.
Right. No.
Let's see what happens. Let these guys develop. This is valuable because next year, 25-26 is the year that I think Purdue is damn near a juggernaut again.
Yeah, I think they are too. And so enjoy the ride, enjoy the process. I think it's the right way to look at this. Okay. So I go back, and so the funny thing is I've heard a lot of people talk about Purdue basketball, whether they're inside the Purdue family or outside, from Golden Black to other clickbaity type people that run different national feeds. Okay. And the thing I keep hearing everybody saying is that, like, it's a given that Purdue's going to have a 7-footer in the starting lineup. But I'm like, this isn't ancient history. I keep saying this. It's not ancient history to go back and find a team that didn't have a 7-footer in the starting lineup, right? So you go back to 20 and 21. Obviously, there's a bit of an asterisk around that year because what's interesting about the 2021 year, Jay?
What's interesting about the 2021 year?
Yeah, going into the season, what was interesting?
No fans?
No fans. So right away, Mackey is a different place. And I think that's noteworthy. Okay. And so I think that's a, I think they only lost one game at Mackey that year, though. I'm almost positive. Okay. But the interesting thing about that year, of course, Travion Williams was the starting power forward. They didn't really have a center. I kind of was looking at some lineups, taking samples, and I was trying to jog my memory. But a typical lineup for quite a few games, you had Hunter at point guard, you had Ivy at shooting guard, Newman at the other shooting guard. This is funny because you remember we looked through the prism of how his career ended, very different, and Williams and Gillis. Okay. And also Gillis, another guy who said, I don't need to start, right? I mean, both Williams and Gillis did that, which is pretty incredible. You have 3 guys that fell off the starting line. 4 guys, all 4. That's incredible in itself.
Right.
That shows how much the talent developed around them. But anyway, so that starting 5, though, was a transitional starting 5, I'd argue. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I think this year is a transitional year. Okay. No fans is a big deal.
Higher bar, but transitional.
Yeah. Okay. So I love that question by Greg. It's always a good question, that type of question. So that team, if you don't remember, finished 18-10. They were 5-2 in the pre-con. They were 4th in the conference. They lost to Texas something in the NCAA tournament in empty Indianapolis Butler Arena, I believe.
Uh-oh, the buzzing is back.
Okay.
Multiple people are telling you your earbuds are overheating again. So we're getting good at this. I will bring up a comment here from Boiler Bugle who says he knows a guy who says there'll be an announcement about where Anish's whereabouts are tomorrow. So Anish, I know you're listening. I did not reveal your location. It's an undisclosed bunker, but there are rumors swirling about what's happening with you. I just wanted to put that out there. Let's see here. Does Kurt Cignetti get a buyout? Ken asks, does Kurt Cignetti get a buyout from an SEC school and head south this offseason? I really want that to happen just for the humor. I want IU to get one exciting season and then have to make another good hire. And the odds of IU making 2 home run hires in a row feels slim to me. So yes, I do think so. I think he definitely gets an offer. He for sure gets a number of offers. Whether or not he goes, I don't know. But man, that would be so fun. It would be so fun.
Yeah, that's my favorite. It's my favorite scenario.
I mean,
my favorite scenario.
But I don't know if you heard because you were disconnected, but I said the odds of them making 2 home run hires in a row seems slim. So
well, I mean, obviously, it's been hard for Purdue to do it, so you'd have to think it's even harder for IU.
You would think.
Purdue has won 51% of their games historically as a program. IU has won 41% of their games as a program.
Right, and Purdue's right. By the way, I will jump. I do have a number of comments saved, so if we want to wrap the show with some of the best that I've saved, but
first, I wanted to hear you get angry about my comparison, my parallel of the 2021 team.
Why would I get angry about it? I think. Well, I started to. I was saying I think that the bar is higher for this transitional year than that year. That's what I think the difference is. I think that that's a fair comparison, but I think that this team is much better than that team. Much better than that team.
Well, it's fun. Tonight, I interacted with a young Purdue fan. He was a kid in middle school. He said, "Hey, boiler up" to me. He points over in my sweatshirt. I said, "Hammer down." He said, "So they're going to go to the Final Four again." I said, "Awesome. Great. It's good. Love it." And he said, "I was in Phoenix." I said, "So was I." I said, "I think you're nuts, but that's okay." I said, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you to stop believing. That's good. I said, your optimism is great. I love hearing it. But what I thought of, right, when I heard this kid saying this, he went to the Final Four. He's from Hamilton County, Indiana. He gets everything he wants because he gets to go to the Final Four. Well, la-ti-da, rich boy. But the whole thing I thought of was that the culture shift, the culture change that happens when you go to a Final Four. I think it changes, especially with the young people among us, the people that are, let's say 25 and younger. They may say, "Hey, we want, not only do we think it's going to happen, we expect it to happen." Right. So it's fun for you and I to say, this is a fun transitional year, but for the younger people, they may get pretty frustrated pretty quick if they only win 18, 19, 20 games. Because I said to the kid, I think they're going to win 20 games. How many? He said 25. I said, 25. I said, okay. I said, if they win 25 games, they're going to either win the conference or be right there.
I'll take the over on your 20.
Okay.
Take the over.
Okay.
I think.
What do you have?
How many are they playing? Give me that.
I don't know that. I never know that.
It's usually like 32, right?
Yeah, that's what I guessed.
Something like that. I'd say 22, 23. I think 23 and 9, 22 and 10. I think they easily beat 20 wins. I just think, and I think about that. That's a fallback from where they've been the last couple of years. So I think that's appropriate. I think
it is a fallback. You have to go back to 2021 to see a record like that.
Braden Smith is going to will this team. He is such a pain in the ass, and he's going to be such a pain in the ass to the rest of the conference. And I think once you have the experience that guys like Heyman Lawyer and Trey Kaufman-Wren have, like, I think you just become a more battle-hardened team, and they're very difficult to beat. They proved that last year. They had games where they didn't need to win at all, and they won them. And they won them decisively. When the other team, I always think of that game at Illinois. Purdue had locked up a share of the big game.
That one, and they rode Braden Smith to get there.
But Illinois had everything to play for and wanted to prove that they were better than Purdue. The players, the fans.
It's the best will game ever.
And Purdue just said, no.
Right.
Hold them at bay. And it wasn't like Purdue got lucky or fluky. They just never gave them the chance to win. And I love it.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that, they don't have Zach Edey. I agree. But you shouldn't fall into what a lot of people have fallen into, where they think that means Purdue's not a threat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be extremely dangerous. Parts of them are going to be very raw. But I just believe in. I mean, Painter has reaffirmed my belief in.
Okay, that's awesome. It's good to hear. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I just thought the transitional nature of the lineup. That's what I'm thinking of. Here's what, to me, for this team, and you can tell me I'm out of line, but for this team to do that, to win 22, 23 games, I think you have to see Colvin and Heidi step into their role quickly. And the indicators, to me, it looks like they're not quite there. And I haven't heard Painter say anything that, like, man, these guys, I'm going to have to put one of them in the starting lineup. And I think they're really important for the success of this team. Or Harris. Here's the other thing.
All right, Harris is good.
We all love Lance Jones, but Harris being a homegrown freshman and being as good as he looks so far, and as physically as much of a presence as he is, I think he's a better athlete than Lance right away, based on what I've seen.
Probably.
I think Lance is man, for chemistry. There's nobody better. So I don't know enough about Harris's personality yet, but everything I read is great. It's awesome.
One of the best.
Impossibly good fit.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Incredible fit.
Right.
Like, said everything right. Great vibes. Just such a great guy to have on that team. It made a huge difference. More than I think people realize, just as far as like stabilizing, fun, a little silly, but not to this. There have been guys in this program that have annoyed you, I would say, off the record, about how goofy and silly they were, like when they weren't taking things seriously. But I don't think he falls into that, right? I think his fun vibes were the right way. They were. Yes. This is all part of being serious about winning, but you need somebody who's a little bit of a cut up and
absolutely.
Have a guy that, but he also had that. Remember, early in the season, he had a little bit of that dog in him. He would get a little. He didn't like getting pushed around. He didn't. Like he was taking liberties, and so he was just such a fit. And I said this about being part of a team that goes to the Final Four, being a part of that team. Lance will be forever loved by Purdue.
Yeah.
After 1 year, it's so cool. It's so cool. I'm so happy for him. For him to experience that, losing his dad and then getting to experience that, like, man,
was awesome.
I'm so happy for him.
So, by the way, there's a comment over here. So, can we just give Painter his flowers? Painter is Hall of Fame basketball coach. Agree with that part. Absolutely. He's on the same level as Self and Tom Izzo. He's got one big difference, guys.
Yeah, he's the same. I mean, well, I will say, if you want to say how is he fared against, he definitely handles Izzo, knows how to coach against. You want to talk head to head? Yes, he's right there with him. But Izzo's been to, I've lost track, 6, 8 Final Four, something like that.
Right. And Izzo's got a Final Four, or I got championship. Self has 2 or 3.
2, I think.
Okay, 2. Okay.
Yeah, that is
get the championship. It's almost like Peyton Manning, right? There was the one thing holding him back. So, I mean,
someone's going to doubt.
We have moved the finish line, by the way. I've moved the finish line.
You what?
I've moved the finish line now for Painter. I mean, before it was get me to the Final Four, right?
Now it's a national title.
This is the problem. Is that culture shift? This is the issue.
All right, it's like we're sitting down for goal setting at a workplace. Matt, okay, great job last year, and we want to build on that.
Awesome. Now just a little better. That's it. Not that much better than last year. Just a little better than last year.
One more win. All
that's we're asking for. One more. Yeah. So you said you had some comments you had harvested and you wanted to bring up. You want to close out the show with that?
Yeah, I think that's a great
idea. By the way, we're right on time for a 45-minute goal.
Well, we did
as always. Exactly. We'll break it in half. Yeah, sure, no problem.
I don't know if you saw this when you were doing a changeover, but Boyle Bugle says he knows a guy who knows a guy who said there'll be an announcement about Nisha's whereabouts tomorrow.
Oh, that sounds. Thank you, Boyle Bugle. This sounds really. This sounds serious. Good. So I'm gonna go tweet that out.
So Ryan Clippers earlier said if you want something new for your Bullet Sports
Clips. Ryan Clips.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Get it right.
If you want something new for your Bullet Sports low ball glass, the Castle and Key Rye is phenomenal.
Oh, okay. So I've been waiting for Castle and Key's product to grow up a little bit because I think I told you guys I went through the distillery before it officially opened, which was awesome. Back when they had a female distiller, it was a big deal. I met her, and her daughter was just the only person that. It's a beautiful old building in the woods. It was awesome. There was still construction stuff, and I squeezed through because I'm such a little guy. Okay, I'm short. I'm not little. But I did go in there. So, and I've been waiting for it because I think it's a cool place. So I got to try the Castle and Key Rye. Is that like a $60 bottle? I bet it is.
I don't know. Mr. Matt DSM. I brought this one up earlier. We didn't talk about it. He says, this is how independent Purdue sports criticism dies, with the BS staff being welcomed into the high rent seats. That is a fair concern, but we were not welcomed in by Purdue. That's a clear distinction here.
I like the comment, though. I do like the comment. We were not
invited up there by Purdue. If Purdue had done it to try to curry favor, that would be one thing, but that was not.
In fact, they probably were pretty upset. I mean, here's the thing: coaches like us, staffs like us generally, but the brass has never.
No, and then Michael, who I mentioned earlier, it was good seeing you guys. I'm saying, shh, Michael, don't tell people we were up there.
Exactly.
Maintain our reputation as being among the people.
So next time when someone invites me, hopefully I get to meet Michael too. No, I gotta go.
Ryan again. I won't try to say his last name. Has Anish entered the transfer portal?
We can't confirm or deny that, really, can we?
An announcement. What can I tell you?
Exactly.
Greg Manis says, "Will Cox dive for balls?" I'll show myself out.
Is my buzz back? Is that what people are telling me? Or is that old?
I don't know. Let me look here.
It looks like it's new.
I think it's new.
All right, I'll be back.
Oh, there's little bees. Ed Albanese says that the starting five will be Smith, Lawyer, TKR, Berg, and Heidi. I think that's a decent guess. Let me bring Boiler down back in. Smith, Lawyer, TKA, Berg, and Heidi.
I don't think that's going to happen, but that's okay. We're all guessing right now. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, though. But
we're all over the place with our comments, so I'll just jump over to this one. M23 says, I see parallels with what Signetti is doing with Tiller at Purdue. I think that's a great comparison, although Tiller never started 7-0.
Tiller lost Toledo right away. I brought that up. My brother said the exact same thing. I said, and I can't forget that Toledo game because it brought my expectations so far down. They haven't hit that yet, and they're not going to have that type of loss. They're just not. The rest of their schedule is good.
No, right. This is an interesting one from Rudy Ray Moore, who Rudy makes some pretty wild assertions in this podcast. So I don't know if this is true, but he's saying that Kirk Signetti is out after this year, returning to his alma mater, West Virginia, be the head coach. Neil Brown is going to be fired, and Signetti is who West Virginia wants. That's not as tasty as him going to an SEC program, but I'll take it. If that happens, that'd be great.
Yeah. The real question is, does West Virginia have the coffers to get his buyout? I'm sure his buyouts, it's got to be 12 to 15 or more, right? I
thought we looked into this and
was it lower?
Oh, no, you're right. I think it was pretty significant.
Yeah.
Into this, and it's pretty significant.
So does West Virginia have the donors to do that? I don't know about that. I don't mean to put West Virginia down, but I don't think of them as a.
And they're not an SEC or Big Ten school with so much money pouring in. That's the one thing in the Big 12 you don't quite have. They have money, but they might not have that. You might
not like that. Yeah,
you might be
it's
right.
Next level stuff.
More like I love Anisha's thing that Florida could be a potential.
I think Florida and Florida State are very real potentials.
Oh man, can you imagine?
Alabama, and then De Beer comes to.
have a couple really good ones to end us with, so I'm going to go to these last couple before we get to the really good ones to end you with. Travis Brandon says, isn't the media projecting Purdue basketball to win the Big Ten by 3? I hadn't seen that, but I will say that doesn't mean they couldn't have they're going to fall back from last year, guys. Let's get our heads around that to start with. They're not going to be the same team they were last year. However, I mean, when you were talking about them winning 22 games and you're saying, oh, they'll really be in the 25, they'd really be in the hunt for the Big Ten. I think they're going to be, because who's the dominant Big Ten team this year? Who's really good? People talk about IU, right? They're not going to be.
Mm-hmm. IU's loaded. The problem is they still have to.
Loaded. They still have Woody coaches.
I think they've loaded. They've got some pretty good. I know it's the same problem. The portal transfers should be good right away, and they're. At least one of them is an All-American type of guy. So
I have a good question here from Ed Albanese, the Gummy Bear King of North America, I think it is, right? Mm-hmm. Who will be the top scorer? I think that's a great question.
It is a great question.
Who's going to lead the team in scoring? I think it actually could be Braden. I think it's possible.
Is that a good or bad thing for the team? I'll follow that up.
It's not great.
Yeah, that's what I agree. I think if Braden is the leading scorer, I think they do have a season like what I said, 18 to 21.
Mm-hmm. Then he averages 17.
Yeah.
17 and 10. And you're like, wow, great season. But
I think it's so I want to say the same way. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Fletch is a guy that's a bit of a catalyst. Fletch is playing, looks like he's driving to get points.
He was in the scrimmage, yeah.
That's different. And here's the question. When he's going up against 22, 23-year-olds on defense, can he do it as easily as he's doing it against a 19-year-old?
Right. And Adam Gopfrich says, I'm excited for Lawyer. This feels like an Edwards/Klein Smith/Lawyer parallel team. I mean, I think I don't know that anybody in this team compares to Boogie.
If you're going to say, I'd say Cox is as close to the Boogie as anybody, because he's just it looks like he's a microwave, right? But he's not going to play that much.
I was going to say, and he's that weird story, right? Where he wasn't even the one Painter was up there to see. Painter.
Is that true?
The story I heard was that Painter was recruiting someone else, and this guy was like, CJ Cox was like the Braden story. Like he was going to go somewhere much lesser program, or was thinking about it. Nobody was really recruiting him, is what I thought I had heard. Am I off on that? I don't think
I know he wasn't being recruited by any major programs. I know that.
I think he's another one of those Painter finds. Okay, so I'm going to end the.
It's doing it again.
Is it?
Cursed microphone.
Well, then the microphone is rattling. The buzz is not back. Dick's still laughing. So Greg McManus asks, Anish, would you want to fight one Dowd-sized toddler or a dozen toddler-sized Dowds? Dowd-sized toddler. I think I'd rather fight the one Dowd-sized toddler. Because one-on-one on a smaller Dowd, I think I could handle. I don't know that I could handle a dozen toddler-sized Dowds, because they'd be feisty. I don't think I would want to do that. Mark Edie says that the noise stopped. Well, Brother Dad left. I think that could be why it stopped. What else do we have here from you all? Oh, he's back. Let's bring in our guest, Brother Dad. Oh boy. Hearing feedback of myself. Mark Edie said it stopped. And I was like, that's because he dropped. But the question was, Greg McManus asked if I would want to fight one Dowd-sized toddler or a dozen toddler-sized Dowds. I'd take the Dowd-sized toddler, big toddler that's your size. Because it's one-on-one, I think I could probably take a toddler. They don't know how to fight.
He's gonna be mean, though.
Right, but a dozen of you, a toddler-sized, that would be very feisty. Hard to fight off. I would.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No. And then we're gonna wrap it up with Anish's question. Anish says, "How many geese would it take to take down Boiler Dad?" That's
that's a good question. We have a goose problem at my house. I'll be real honest. We've got a pond in the backyard. I think Anish knows that, and that might be why Anish has been on the back deck. And there are geese, and I can tell you, it's not just me; it's my whole family. We are well equipped to take on geese. I almost went after. I'm ready. I'm ready to punch a goose in the mouth, the bill, grab its throat. Just you can hiss at me all you want.
So how many of them would it take to take you down? I think you could handle 5 of them easily.
Oh, I can easily handle 5. Yeah. The problem is, are they all males protecting the female? That's the thing. They're pretty nasty when they've got see, I've been watching all the geese. The male has a thicker neck. So yeah, it might be, they put those wings out and they try to do things to distract you, but they put their heads low. See, I know all about the way the goose tries to defend. They come in low, and then it's the noise making. It's all bluster. I'm ready for it.
Stupid geese.
Dumb geese. Hate geese.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah. Thank you. It's good. It's a good question. Yeah. Canadian geese are jerks, and they're entitled because they've been protected for 25 years in America, and they know it. Somehow they've gotten the memo that they're a protected species.
Soft ass geese.
Exactly. Hit the road. Get back to Canada. Those jerks walk across the street when they could fly, holding up traffic. Sons of bitches.
Getting you riled up a bit.
They just look at you. They're just like,
what are you going to do? Run me over?
What are you going to do? I bet you're not going to run me over. If you run me over, you're going to jail, pal. So, yeah. But the Canadian geese, actually, the funny thing is about them being protected. They've actually become Canadian American geese. That's not a lie. It's not a joke. Because they don't ever go back to Canada. So.
So you're saying they crossed the border. Wait a minute. We don't want to go there.
Great. Nice job. Awesome.
They just march right across the border.
March across the border. Could have a wall or a fence or something. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, paintballs do work against geese. So do walnuts. We've got a walnut tree. I light those things.
Shot with walnuts.
No, I just throw them, man. And the best is if you hit them, they make. You're not hurting them. They're connected. They all have a built-in pillow on their back. Okay, I know how this works. You're not hurting them. Walnuts don't even weigh anything. Yeah. Paintball will probably work better though than a walnut. But I've got walnuts handy. Walnuts are always available.
Paintball gun though, what would be great was you'd be marking them. Hit them with like iridescent green paint,
and know which jerk has been.
Like, I already hit you. You're back.
Exactly.
Huh?
Yeah. Swans may be jerkier than geese somehow. They're bigger too.
We had a mouse problem in our house.
Yeah.
And I got the humane traps because I don't want to.
Don't do that.
I know. I got the plastic
I know now.
traps. Well, what I started doing was I would release them in the backyard and I'd spray paint their tails green.
Okay.
That way, if I ever caught I'd be like, all right, you get one freebie. After that, I'm drowning your asses. So,
and did they come back?
I didn't get any repeat customers, but they didn't stop coming in until I put the poison out. So, sorry guys, but I tried. But
yeah,
I think
the funny thing is field mice are kind of cute too.
And if you trap mice with something tasty or that smells good and you don't kill them, you know what they do? They go say, hey guys, there's some tasty stuff in there. Let's go get it.
Yep. They're bad.
Anyway. Yeah,
we got a mouse problem in our shed too. So I've been knocking those guys off, like with the. It's gross. You put that green. Is that what you use?
Yep.
Tomcat.
They take it and they go and they bring it back to the rest of their family.
And then all of a sudden, there's a mouse taking a nap on your floor. That just happened. They just take a little nap. So I said to my daughter, "Oh, there's another sleepy mouse on the floor." Jerks.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Try bear spray.
It better work
for the mouse or for the geese. Either one. It's brutal. No, that's awesome. Bear spray comes out like a fire hose, doesn't it? Doesn't it shoot a long way too?
I don't know. Is it like wasp spray?
It's a big can. Like it has like a safety on it. You flick it off like a grenade, and then you. Yeah.
Just get a pistol. It's Indiana. Come on.
Exactly. I don't think my neighborhood would be big about me unloading a magazine on the geese.
Especially when you're around that pond, you got people across from you.
Exactly. You gotta think.
Could you move? You're in my background, please.
Yeah, please move to the left. Yeah. They hate classical music. That's awesome. I like classical music, so maybe that might work. So do they dislike rap? Because I like rap, especially 90s rap. Yeah. Good. Mike's coming back. Mike's going, so I'm going to let you sign off, Jay. I think this is it. Sign.
Well, what do we have to say when we close the show? I don't say it. You say it.
Can you say it? Or because my mic's...
Oh, are you buzzing again?
So they tell me.
Oh, man. Well, then that's it for you for Boiler Down. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thanks again to our friends who were so good to us this weekend. Thanks again to fans for showing up and showing out and being supportive and people being cool when we run into you. We didn't mention all of you. A lot of you said hello. That was awesome. And thanks to our sponsors, AJ and Homefield. AJ's Burgers and Beef and Beer.